But you quit that every fucking time. God fucking damn.
Body of a missing Lake Elsinore teen was ID'd as the one in a car in a Tesla that was found rotting in a bizarre story in a Singer's Star car. Here's the ABC7 report.
That we've been following, we have just learned the identity of a teen found dead inside of the trunk of a Tesla registered to the singer David. Investigators now say that the victim, Celeste Rivas, reported as a runaway last year, had not been seen since. Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay live now in the Hollywood Hills where the car was abandoned. Sophie.
Mark, a devastating discovery. And that singer David has been performing on tour throughout this investigation. Law enforcement told us previously that he was cooperating. And in fact, David was supposed to perform tonight in Seattle, but it appears that that show has since been canceled. The human remains found inside this impounded Tesla in Hollywood have been identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, according to the LA County Medical Examiner, the same young woman from Lake Elsinore who was reported missing last year. Eyewitness News has learned she ran away from home a few times and returned. She last ran away in the spring of 2024 and had not been heard from since. People who work and live in the
very troubling story. Teen missing a year winds up dead in a singer's car. Definitely be following this case very earnestly. We ain't seen a fire and sparks pursuit chase in a while, but SoCal provides. Here we go.
It's going to be the end of that rim as he goes down to the axle here. A lot more sparks flying, a fireball of sparks coming from underneath that vehicle.
A stolen pickup and a high-speed pursuit. Reporter Christie right overhead in Air 7 calling it all. It all began with a report of a stolen pickup truck in the Antelope Valley. CHP pursuing the pickup for more than 45 miles.
That was a pretty good one. You know, when you're down to, and I mean, he must have wore the bottom of the A-frames, frame rails, maybe the brake rotors out. I mean, tire off, rim off, down to the rim, skidding it, fire. Something else of these guys. Although he did get out, I mean, he immediately got out of the truck and surrendered. So at least the cops didn't have to deal with that whole ridiculous situation. Donald Trump, they rolled out the red carpet in the UK for Donald J. It was very striking. Even Piers Morgan was shocked at how the UK treated Mr. Trump.
No question. I think this is a real statement by the king. And you have a lot of people, particularly since the appalling murder of Charlie Kirk, I think are feeling very tense about the way that issues like free speech are going in the world. And I think that the royal family want to make a statement. They are aligning themselves very publicly today with the president of the United States, who they know actually believes in his heart fundamentally in the principles of free speech, as indeed do they. So I think that this is it's a statement by the royal family. We're going to roll out the ultimate red carpet. And again, just to stress, I've not seen this done for any other world leader.
Here's Morgan, who is from the UK. And as you see Mr. Trump being escorted by King Charles, as they said, no other world leader has been given this kind of props walking into London, England, and it's because of the leadership of Donald J. Trump. Not only of freedom, working for real peace, not manufactured peace. That's going to be, I believe, the overriding legacy of Trump 1.0, but probably especially Trump 2.0. Disagreeing with somebody does not mean they're a fascist, a racist, deplorable. And the list goes on. This was at the Patel hearings about the FBI investigation into Charlie Kirk. Here we go.
States that opens up his campaign in 2019, that's Joe Biden, by saying that his opponent is a, quote, existential threat to this country. Houston, we have a problem. People that you disagree with are not existential threats. They are not Nazis. They are not fascists. They are not racist. They are not deplorable. They are not irredeemable. They are your fellow Americans who have a different perspective on how government should run, whether or not we should have strong sovereign borders, whether or not we should have places to worship our God and not worry about being shot, whether or not we have two genders, and whether or not we have common sense in our policies and our values. And people that believe these things are not existential threats. I happen to be one of these people that believes all of the above. And as someone that served this country in combat, I can assure you I am not an existential threat to this country because I swore to protect her.
That says it all. Just because you have a disagreement, and maybe you want your kids to be educational vegetables, not have respect to them. Hey, we'll have conversations and discussions about whether that's a good idea or not. But as that gentleman said, if you want secure borders, if you want economy that works for everybody, for opportunity for all, if you don't want healthcare taken away from you, which it's done under Obamacare, try to get in to see your doctor. You're not an existential threat, like Joe Biden said. We know where the rhetoric comes from. And overwhelmingly. And we're not going to play these games again. We'll get into some more of what happened at the House hearings, the Kash Patel and the Kirk assassination. Well, in some cases was an S show when the Democrats were questioning. At least we got some information while the Republican members did. Was Charlie Kirk targeted by the Biden administration, like all of us who dare disagree or express a different opinion? From the New York Post, FBI Eric Frost probe targeted nearly 100 GOP groups, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. It's all this. They've targeted us. Teachers have been in the forefront of this. Randy Weingarten, leader of most American teachers, let's call it what it is. Fascists hate critical thinking. Randy Weingarten's new book, Why Fascists Fear Teachers, reveals why Trump and the right demean teachers / school funding and rewrite history. Oh, that witch. That witch that has destroyed education. Half of the kids, not at grade level, not even basic reading, writing, and math and science skills. Under that witch, Randy Weingarten, and the teachers in public schools of America. That's your record. And that's who you're standing with. This is who you're funding, and this is who's speaking for you. And until more teachers stand up, like Nick Perdue and Steve Campos around here, and tell it like it is, we're going to roll further down the abyss. Guaranteed. "18-year-old after 13 years in government education" by Randy Weingarten. This is what the fascists she's calling have said. They can't build a house. They can't work on a car. No idea how to farm. Economically illiterate. Historically illiterate. No idea how bodies work. No clue about healthy nutrition. Is chronologically depressed. Becomes self-educated. The system wants you to be a slave. And that's what Randy Weingarten calls a fascist, for pointing out the truth, for trying not to ruin the kids of the future and practice the communism like Yuri Brezhnev said 40 years ago, and you're watching it play out today. Kitty Workman said it, what Hitler did in Austria after he killed Germany. Fascist my ass, Randy Weingarten can stuff it right up her ass. Get into this one a little bit. This is unbelievable. Except it's not. Rent relief. They're taking money from you and giving it to illegals who are affected by ICE immigration raids. Here in California, that's where your tax dollars are going, to illegals to pay for their rent under the guise that they were affected by the immigration raids. What happened to the concept? You come to this country, you apply legally, you're not a burden on this country until you become a citizen. You do not have full due process. You do not have full constitutional rights until you are a U.S. citizen. You do not have the right to vote until you're a U.S. citizen. And as Trump said today, and we posted on IE Newswire, the executive order's coming. Voter ID, hopefully same-day voting in 2026 on our federal elections. It's about damn. Yes, it is. Can you believe? Can you believe immigration? Raids. The people, immigration are raiding you, and you're going to get Money from us. They're going to take money from us, point a gun at you, steal the money out of your pocket. It's the ABC 7 report from the great Mark Brown.
It's approved roughly $30 million for emergency rent relief for wildfire survivors and for immigrant communities affected by the recent ICE raids. The motion also calls for additional eviction protections. A community organizer for street vendors says the immigrant community has been especially hard hit by the Trump administration's recent crackdowns.
And so a lot of people have had to resort to mutual aid, their savings, or literally in debt and in great debt to have that roof over their head. And
Again, immigrants, they're illegal aliens. Please, KBC 7, say it as it is. They're taking money out of your pocket and giving it to you people in this country illegally or unlawfully. There's the proof in the pudding. Michael Schellenberger, who was big into up in San Fran, was a big lib. Said, you know, the vagrancy and the drugs and how San Francisco went down the tubes and then California was, clean energy and that, and said, man, we got to drill, baby, drill. This is stupid. Anyway, the mass psychosis, media psychosis. This guy summarizes Matt Schellenberger's article, calls it a clown world, which it is here in CA. Here we go.
World go crazy? You're not imagining things. Over the last decade, a media-induced woke reign of terror gripped the populations of Western nations, creating what Michael Schellenberger aptly describes as mass psychosis. Over the last decade, he writes, Democrats in the media said that those of us who opposed DEI, racial quotas, and open borders had gone far right. But we hadn't. Rather, Democrats in the media had gone far left. We are only now emerging from 10 plus years of extreme psychopathic gaslighting.
Supreme psychopathic gaslighting. That's what we've been getting that for 30 plus years, not only in the US, but especially in California. When George Poppy Bush in '89, when he got elected president, he sent Gerald Parsky in here to destroy this right Republican movement in California, which he successfully did. Now you got stupid kids, gas at $5, highest gas, electricity, grocery, homes, everything else. And now they take money out of your pocket and give it to illegals in this country because, ICE is actually enforcing the law.
Data from the US General Social Survey shows that center and right-wing views have more or less remained the same since the early 2000s.
25 years. Center-right basically hasn't changed their principles. They want their kids to be educated. They want their neighborhoods safe. They want to be able to go to their school board without being arrested by the U.S. Attorney General, as Randy Weingarten, that fascist witch, said. And again, look at what the misdirection. She blames everybody else for what she is doing. The fascist teachers led by Randy Weingarten. And that's what's infected your public schools. If you don't believe it, go back and watch. Let me calm down a second. Go back and watch the Sunday vigil that I taped or the show on Monday, iNewsWire. And we got 3 kids, 15, 17, 19. They're telling you they're getting indoctrinated. The stats just came out. Your kids cannot read, write, or know basic science. No wonder they'll take the clot shot.
While the left has gone 40 to 60% further left on cultural issues, and the data continues to back him up.
This is just in the last 10 years, 2015. after they'd probably done that under the racist in chief Barack Hussein Obama. Yuri Brezhnev said it. That's how the Soviet Union's going to take you over, by just doing these techniques. Schellenberger seeing it. Do you think I'm so crazy now?
Publications like the New York Times and the Washington Post radically increased their use of terms like racist and white privilege after 2012. As Schellenberger notes, the media did this. The mass brainwashing came from college-educated elites in control of the most powerful propaganda machine in world history. These elites convinced the public that the West had grown more racist than ever, a blatant contradiction of the evidence, while the public
2012. Well, right at the second start of the racist in chief Barack Hussein Obama, who was supposed to flesh all this out. What did they do? They ramped it up. Straight white male, evil white hillbilly, racist, homophobe. If you're a woman, he's going to come home and beat the living crap out of you and then rape you repeatedly.
Was distracted by these manufactured culture wars, governments exploited the chaos to consolidate power. Authoritarianism.
Manufactured culture wars. Manufactured. Minneapolis shooting. Nashville school shooting. Charlie Kirk politically assassinated. And the list goes on. What is the overwhelming theme in this? Culture war, transgender. You can't say, oh, you got to accept it. Oh, you can't say anything. Oh, if you do, you're a homophobe. Oh, boys can go up and beat up girls in girls' sports. Walk in there like in Loudoun County and rape your daughters. And you got to like it.
Spiraling debt and economic devastation were the crippling costs of this deception. Schellenberger describes the consequences bluntly. By the time we got to 2016, Democrats had become completely unhinged. They made everything political, hunted heretics, and weaponized the government, three core characteristics of totalitarianism.
Remember the absolute, abject, them going crazy as Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016. And the constant barrage from Pencil Neck Schiff and Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Corey Jackson. Ulysses Cabrera, and the list goes on. They systematically ramped this up. When that wasn't even working, then we got the COVID con, so we got Joe Biden.
The fallout has been catastrophic. Institutions lie in ruin, trust has been obliterated, and communities remain fractured. This wasn't a mere political misstep. It was ideological warfare, orchestrated to divide and dominate. As the fog begins to lift, the
divide and conquer. They can get you to hate your neighbor. They know they can control you. If you're paranoid or this, or they're coming, or they're doing this. Oh, the Iceman's going to come out and get you. That's the latest one. You're going to die if you don't take the clot shot. Not only that, you're going to kill everybody else. And we'll get to today, but Pat Soon-Shiong, one of the most world-renowned cancer doctors, just come out and said, man, the explosion in colon cancer in the last 2 years is ridiculous. Most likely cause the COVID vaccine. We'll get to that probably later in the week.
Question looms. Have we learned enough to prevent the next wave of fear-mongering and manipulation? Or will we put the blinders over our eyes and allow the mass brainwashing to continue with new faces in the same tactics?
There you go. Are we going to allow these cretins to sell us the biggest load of S that's ever been dumped on a civilization. That's what we're dealing with. And again, that was just a guy reiterating what Michael Schellenberger, again, was a extreme liberal, chanting in the streets, tie-dye shirt on, hate Ashbury. Then he saw the light. Was out there climate change? Oh, we're all going to die of diesel smoke. Now he's the biggest advocate of drill baby drill and nuclear power for electricity than you've ever seen. And he's seeing what Kitty Workman lived 80 years ago in Austria, and everybody else did in the whole World War II. And we cannot allow for any cost for this to happen. If we do, Charlie Kirk and the rest of us will die. You may be here physically, but spiritually, you'll be done. You will not have you will be a slave. You will be controlled. You will be monitored 24/7, 365. My greatest hope and fear, especially with events that's happened in the last week, it's been a week since Charlie was assassinated. My biggest hope is people will take what they saw on September 10th, and it will open their eyes. And they will no longer, they will see, they've seen what's under COVID, what was going on in their schools. Now they know who the real fascists are. They're sitting there teaching your kids. They're that superintendent, that principal. It's been conning you up the kazoo while they're making your kids stupid. One thing and one thing only. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. My biggest fear is we all stick our heads, or the majority sticks their heads in the sand. Says, oh, well, somebody else will do it. It'll be that. I'm too busy today. And the next day, and a week from now, and 6 months from now, and a year from now. I've said it many times. Just go to one public meeting a month. Or do you get involved in civic deals? Go to a school board meeting. Try to get on your kid's campus. Ask to sit in your kid's classroom. Spend a day at school with your kid. I don't know, let's say elementary school, 500 kids. What if just 1%? What if 5 moms showed up? There'd be different ones. Every day. Just see what's going on. I bet you wouldn't have half of K through 12 students in America. It's worse, it's almost 70% are not at grade level. Half don't even have basic math, reading, writing, and science skills. What use is a public school system if your kids aren't even taught those basic schools? It's for exactly what Schellenberger, what Trump, remember what Trump said? They're not after me. They're after you. And there could be nothing further
40 seconds
from the truth. I don't know, Susan will be calling, and she didn't reply back to the email, but if she does, roll her in. If you get that. As Jesse said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in about 40 seconds. And we will continue on, either with Susan or without, on this Wednesday, the week after the assassination.
10 seconds. 5 seconds. Susan's on the line, ready to go.
Okay.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Okay, Sly Guitar Music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the format today and Ben. Join our vast video audience at the Evil FB Network, Rumble X, YouTube. Go check us out there on the Roy Leckert channel. Hey, we don't seem to be getting thrown off that. I don't know why, but I'm not going to do anything different until they do. Oh, man, what a day. On top of the biggest, one of the biggest things, and Piers Morgan said it, he never saw the United Kingdom, England, the King or Queen of England, not only Trump or a U.S., treat any foreign leader like they treated Trump today, rolling out the red carpet, delivering the respect, and it was because, according to Piers Morgan, and you saw it in the UK a couple of days ago with the Tommy Robinson rally with hundreds of thousands, it's because they have respect for Trump. They believe in the principles Trump represents of the United States of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But as we usually do on a Wednesday, we have famed editorial writer, columnist for San Bernardino Sun, Press Enterprise, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts. More important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
Man, last week it happened. It's been a week ago. You came on. Charlie had just been assassinated. I know you wrote a column on it this week, but what's your thoughts a week later?
Well, it's so impressive to see how people all over the world were affected by him. You know, sometimes we talk about the difference that a citizen can make, not someone who's in power, not someone who's in office, but just a regular person. And he was that person. He had a tremendous impact just by talking with people and opening up their eyes to see things from a different point of view. And what an incredible impact he had, and at such a young age. It's a terrible, terrible loss, but he was a tremendous gift.
1000%. I mean, the legacy, and I've said this, if we pick up what Charlie Kirk started, Charlie Kirk lives. If we don't, he dies. And that's, I mean, I think maybe, and I wouldn't have thought this, and I'm not big on that whole royalty stuff. I think it's, you know, whatever, that's subject for a different day. When you see what happened in Great Britain, what happened with the vigils all across this weekend, all across this country and the world, there's, to me, and I mean, this may have, and Butler, Pennsylvania, and the assassination attempt on Trump had a big impact on the U.S. This one might even have a bigger impact on the U.S. and even across the world. What do you think, Susan?
Well, it's different, isn't it? What we're seeing, all these people who were saying these vile things, indefensible, crazy, vile things about Charlie Kirk, we're seeing them fired for it, fired for celebrating murder. We saw Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air today. This is new. This is something that's changed, because instead of conservatives stepping back and saying, yeah, there's nothing we can do, they hate us, they're absolutely fighting and turning in people who are just gloating on social media over the death of this husband and father, this innocent person, and all of this disinformation about what he said, all these distortions and misquotes. That Washington Post columnist who made up a quote and got fired for it, that was really something to see after so many years, maybe decades, of the leftist media just lying all the time and nothing would ever happen to them. And suddenly, it's different.
Yes. Can you imagine? And I seen somebody, and I mean, it's not verified, but I didn't verify, but from the anecdotal evidence, I think it's fairly accurate. You went through and all the firings, overwhelmingly, they were teachers, firings over the Charlie Kirk assassination and their, I'll try to be nice, their rude comments that they made on that. Nurses, which kind of surprised me because they were pretty strong in the COVID deal, but they were second, but they were a long ways back. But most of them were, they had some sort of government public employee connection to it. And then you're seeing the entertainment now that Jimmy Kimmel is off the air indefinitely at ABC, The Mouse, and Disney. You wouldn't have seen that a week ago. I guarantee you, The Mouse would not have taken Kimmel off the air for a second if they weren't seeing this other backlash across almost a unanimous, but a very broad cross-section of not only United States citizens, but people across the world, Susan.
Well, yes, there was a backlash. The FCC, one of the FCC commissioners said that they were going to look at ABC's broadcast license over what had been said on the about Charlie Kirk, supposedly that, well, actually what Jimmy Kimmel said is that the MAGA movement was trying to conceal that the assassin was one of their own, which he wasn't. It was a complete lie that he's putting out there in a so-called comedy monologue on a television show. And the FCC was looking into it. Nexstar, a huge group of stations that are owned and affiliated, they were pulling him off the air. They said, we're going to substitute different programming. We're not airing Jimmy Kimmel after those comments. And so ABC didn't really have much of a choice. They had lost their station list. You know, a network is only a network because it has affiliated stations or owned and operated stations. It doesn't itself have anything. It provides programming to stations that have broadcast licenses. So this is a really interesting time we're living in. Something big is changing.
I believe that you're seeing it all across the board. I would have never. And I mean, I was at the vigil at Riverside on Sunday. And again, I figured at least there's going to be a few protesters with some signs and a zip, zada, zero, nothing. I mean, in an issue like this, and I will say this, and I bet, we won't know until we look back at the annals of history. But this thing of Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm not surprised that somebody as psychotic, in my view, as Jimmy Kimmel would do that. But I think the left and all these teachers and everybody that's been spewing this and trying to run the right wing MAGA conspiracy, and they shot him, and it was the that blowing up in their faces may be the real turning point that we're going to look back on and see that, because they immediately come out with the same stuff. And let's face it, it's been working for them for 30 or 40. Well, you can take it's really been working for totalitarian dictators since recorded world history of this stuff. But maybe we'll look back and see it this time is when they cried wolf one too many times, Susan.
It's really impressive that when you stand up to these leftists, whether you're President Trump or you're Charlie Kirk or you're any one of us, when you stand up to them and say, we don't accept your premise any longer, that pick one, that we all work for you, that you get to tell us what to do and how we're going to spend our money, and you're going to make us give you all the money and all the control, and then you're going to give away our earnings. When you stand up to them and you stand on the moral high ground of individual rights, they've got nothing. All they've got in power is what you, the producer, the person who is earning the money and making their robbery possible, all they have is what they take from you, and they only take it because you give it to them. Because unless they're holding a gun to your head, they're making you give it up out of some sort of misplaced guilt or some idea that you don't have value as a human being and they do, and so you have to go along with whatever they want. They're morally superior. They are not morally superior. They are thieves and looters of other people's earnings. And if you say that to them, they're going to call you a fascist. And if you say, I don't care what you call me, I don't care what you say, you can't have it, you're wrong. If you stand up to them, they've got nothing. They melt. They've got nothing. And that's, I think, what we're seeing.
Randy Weingarten, and I'm glad they did it. If I was on Randy Weingarten's team or her book publisher's team, I wouldn't release that book calling all Republicans, right-wing Trump, fascists, and they're ruining your kids' education. But it goes back to the same thing. Hegelism created crisis where one doesn't exist. The mass media psychosis telling you, right is left and boys are girls and girls are boys. They've been using these tactics on us for so long. And again, the hubris, and there again, and you made the point, and I've made it a lot of times. Governments, I don't care if they're good, bad, or indifferent, they don't work without the force of a firearm. Because if they didn't have a firearm that they could point at you if you didn't give them the money they're demanding, and taking you to jail if you don't, nobody would pay, well, not nobody, but probably 111% of the people would not pay them. So that really, they don't, no matter how they do it, they derive their power from the force of a firearm, Susan.
And they also derive it from misinforming you and making you feel like you don't have the right to your own life and liberty. And they do that through the universities, through the media. You're seeing this campaign all the time to call people selfish because they want their own money that they earn. Why are the people who want to take it not selfish? Why are you selfish for wanting to keep it yourself when you earned it? Why is that not a moral position? They have created this perpetual guilt on the part of people who make it possible for the whole society to exist. From farmers to industrialists to bankers to everybody, they've created this perpetual guilt over whether it's climate change or it's something else. There's always some reason that you're supposed to feel guilty for your existence. And the only thing that fixes your guilt is giving them money. This has to stop. People have to stand up for themselves and for their individual rights and their freedom.
Well, I mean, 111%. I don't know if you saw it, but what LA County or city voted to give to give they called it immigrants, they mean illegals, to give them rent relief because of the ICE raids. And then they tried to carve in the fire victims and everything else. Why would we, United States citizens or the United States of America or any entity, take something from citizens and give it to non-citizens who are not supposed to be a burden on us, or they don't have full constitutional rights or due process until they become citizens? Over Trump administration enforcing the law, and then they're pulling this. And again, California, LA has been leading this, but when, maybe this will be the catalyst of a revolution. Maybe we saw like back in 1978 in California with Prop 13, Susan Shelley.
It could be. There is a point at which people just stop playing along with it and they fight back. We might be there. We might be there right now. Everybody should go to SaveProp13.com and download the petition and sign it, because we're going to shut some of these loopholes, and we're going to get an initiative on the ballot that saves Prop 13. So SaveProp13.com is where you can find that.
Yes, and that's what I mean. That's what more people should. We need to get that army we had and that spirit we had back there in 78 back in California. And remember, from Moonbeam Brown on down, practically every politician, especially those in the center left, were saying, if Prop 13 passes, there's going to be blood in the streets and pestilence and all that other crap they were doing. And what it did was torched off one of the biggest economic booms we ever had in the 80s when that went down. And people actually got to keep their homes that they worked 30 years to pay off and live in, and thought they were going to be retiring. And through the force of the gun, were being taxed out of their homes, getting close to 50 years ago. We got to get that. We in order to save this and turn it around. And again, if we don't, Charlie Kirk dies. If we pick up this mantle, Charlie lives, Susan.
It's very true. Everybody can do something. And this particular thing is not too much effort. You just go to SaveProp13.com and you click the button that says sign the petition now. That gives you a PDF file. And if you're on your computer, you can print the petition, you can sign it, you can mail it back. You're done. You've saved Prop 13. That's all you have to do. Except you should also tell 10 other people about it. And print a few petitions for your neighbors.
that would be, we should start the old, which at least maybe they don't. But when I was growing up and into my early teens, early adulthood, we used to have block parties at least once a year. I mean, we'd close off the street, we'd all gather as neighbors and do that. And it was like the Prop 13 or many other propositions that we worked over there locally or statewide or countywide or everything. That sense of community we had, or we knew our neighbors, we knew, we were part of the community. That it wasn't nothing like with the, to get that on the ballot. And now it's not impossible, but with what you're doing, it's become increasingly almost impossible to have a grassroots movement come on and get this stuff on the ballot like Hiram Johnson gave us this 100 plus years ago. And we need to. Maybe this will be the catalyst to get us back with that, Susan.
Well, I agree with you that it has become really difficult to do taxpayer initiatives because of COVID and because of AB 5, which changed freelance work into employee work. It's much more expensive to hire people to collect signatures in front of a supermarket. And it can be $15 a signature, which means if you need 1 million signatures, guess what? It's $15 million just to walk in the door. And most taxpayer groups are not going to raise that kind of money from people who are already hurting because they're overtaxed. So what we're doing is a one-page petition that can be printed at home. And HJTA will also mail it to you. If you don't have a printer and you want it mailed, just go to the website and click Get the Petition and fill out the form, have it mailed to you. So this is this is an experiment. It's an innovation. It's a new use of technology. We think it's the future because it's just not sustainable that the initiative process is hijacked by big money interests. It has to be for the people, or it's not the true initiative process.
I can attest to that because we had a local one that we did. And I mean, we used to have, like, if we'd go to door, it was like, you figured like 1 in 10 or something, was about the average. It was like 1 in 30 we could get people to just answer the door with not only of the COVID, but with the Ring cameras and everything everybody's got. They just flat will not answer the door. They think you're probably trying to sell them something or you're trying to steal something from them or something. They just won't, and again, even as standing out in front of the supermarkets, the people that wouldn't even look at you and say hi. They just like you weren't even there. They just walk right by you. I mean, it's almost like you're in a different, and I'm saying not so great world universe, but they act like you're, and I mean I get to it that they look like they were afraid of you. We shouldn't be afraid of each other, Susan.
This is the legacy of the COVID pandemic response. I'm not going to say it's the legacy of the pandemic, but it's the legacy of the response to the pandemic, where literally you go into a store and you were supposed to write something with a pen, and they had 1 cup for clean pens and 1 cup for dirty pens. And as if no one has an immune system and we can't talk to each other anymore. And the idea that everyone's a biohazard is very destructive to civil society. And one of the consequences is that when you stand in front of a supermarket and you'd like to do politics the way we always have, people are frightened and they don't want to touch your pen, your clipboard. They don't want to talk to you. Not everybody, of course, but more people than you'd like to see in a place where people could be a little friendlier and always traditionally were friendlier. So it's difficult. But we are going around that because we are on the radio and we're doing digital ads and we're reaching people through email and every other way that we can to let them know that they can go to the website in their own house. They don't have to talk to anybody else. You just go to saveprop13.com on your own computer. You never have to look at another person. You just sign it. You fill out your name and address. You sign it. And then you fill out your name and address a second time on the Declaration of Circulator, which makes it legal. And then you mail it back to Howard Jarvis. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Just as a technical question, how many days do you have to collect I think what you got to have a little over 800, probably 1 million plus signatures to make it qualified. How long do you have to do that?
Not very long. We have until about the middle of February. We have to turn them into all the counties, and we have to turn them in all at once. You can't turn them in big, dribs and drabs. So we have the last date to turn them in is the 25th of February. So we need them back at the Howard Jarvis office by about the 15th of February. So right now we're in September. The time goes fast. So The key to the whole thing is to tell everyone you know to go to saveprop13.com, make sure they tell everyone they know, and then if we can make this go viral, we will be able to do this.
That's the important part. And even though that's about 4 or 5 months away, don't sit on your hands and then get yours in. But like you said, print some more out. Even if you just get, your wife, your parents, the neighbor next door, maybe even strike up a conversation about it so you get to know everybody. You'd be surprised how you, one person, can affect anything, but you got to get out there in the ball game. Got about a minute left. Tell them why they should join HJTA. Go.
Because nobody wants to be taxed out of their house. And the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is fighting for taxpayers in the courts, in the legislature, on the ballot, on the radio, fighting for the interests of the people who pay the bills. And if you want to strengthen your voice in California, join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association at hjta.org. Just click that Join Us button. It's only $15 a year, and you'll get all the information about everything that's going on with your money. hjta.org. Join us.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you so much, Roy.
You got it, Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and columnist extraordinaire for Southern California News Group. That would be a great thing. I know Charlie would be, and he was Scott Pressler, who helped with a lot of the grassroots movement in the Michigan, Pennsylvania area. Charlie worked on that a little bit too, but mainly in Arizona with Turning Point USA and a couple other spots. They were both, Charlie and Scott Pressler, were going to come out. They were really going to concentrate on the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. And I don't know. I know one thing that would have made Charlie proud, and we can do this in his legacy, is if we get that proposition passed to protect Proposition 13. We get it on the ballot, and you know what? It'll scare the living crap out of them. Like it did back in 1978, when not only we got it on the ballot, but we won Prop 13. And like I said, that torched off the second gold rush in California. We had the best economic times after Prop 13 and Prop 4, the GAN spending caps, lit off one of the big, not only one of the biggest economic booms in California, the United States, but the world in one geographic area. We can do that again. We can do it for Charlie. Most important, we can do it for you and your family's future. But y'all really need to get a little skin in the game. And because it's going to take all of our efforts. You know, we just didn't get into the condition we've been talking about in a day. Like they say, they didn't build Rome in a day. And we didn't get here in a day either. So we're not going to get out of it in a day, but today's the day you can start. Get into more of some of the stuff at the local genre. See if that will work. Movie night at the field at Rancho Verde High School. The baseball team is going to have movie night out there for a fundraiser for their baseball team. So if you're so inclined, go out there and check that out. Riverside Home, a burnt family flees in that in Yellowstone Drive house. Colton holding a DUI checkpoint this Friday. So that police canine helps discover nearly 1,000 pounds of cocaine during traffic stop in Barstow. You just one of those routine traffic stops. Motor officers and RPD were out working the area trying to clean up some of the traffic in there. There's some of the traffic that they're doing. We're going to have to see if we can get Jim Riley on to update his cancel culture case where Claremont School District said the kids can't go out there to see their reenactment of like 1776 and all the other stuff. Completely bogus case. This stuff's been going on a while, but that case has been going on 5 or 6 years now. Murrieta cops picked up, oh man, more thieves. They think they can get away with anything. Hopefully Trump gets a motor voter IDs up and out and gets voter ID and gets us to where we have same-day elections. Take it away, Jesse. That'll do it for today.
All right. I will talk to you tomorrow.
You got it.
And John Artall says hello. He stopped by today.
Tell John to say I said hello.
I will. I'll talk to you later.
Siri's still alive. You may need him to fix something someday.
Yep. All right. I'll talk to you later.
You got it. goddamn with this fucking shit.
Recording in progress.